Ariana and Melissa, who I know have been collecting email addresses from parents who attend the meetings so that they can additionally send it out to those families who are on their shared list.
And I think contact stuff is on that PowerPoint too.
That'd be great.
Wondering, my child luckily was always really socially motivated, and he was one of those kids that would walk into a situation, look right and look left, and figure out what the other kids were doing.
Hey, that's great.
It was great unless it was inappropriate.
Yeah.
But what if you have a child who's just really not motivated? They are in their own world.
Yep.
They don't care what's around them. They're hyper focused on an electronic or something that they love, and that's what they know. That's their only comfort level. How do you work with a child that really has no motivation and does not care about anything else in his or her world?
I know. And it's a real challenge. And I'm going to answer the question a little bit broken out by developmental levels because I do take a different stance. And I'll also say it is a question that gets answered a little bit based on your vision, your feeling about ethics, and so forth. Because there are a lot of questions about forcing a person to be social who has no social motivation. So generally, this is the stance I take. But what I'll say is that stance is always mediated. In the case that I work in, through my conversations with the person, him or herself, and his or her family, because there are different motivators. First thing I think about universally, regardless of age level, is even if you are uninterested socially completely, you do require certain social behaviors to survive in your world. So we always have to think about the survival skills. You have to be able to seek help in an emergency. You have to be able to look up when an authority figure asks you for identification and other things, or you will be isolated. You have to be able to respond and report on things that might have happened to you so that you can be a fair reporter. So if I have a person, if I get a 18-year-old who really is, as you describe, I also have to be building motivation and a relationship with him as to say, there are things you have to learn. You can treat them like they are math skills and reading skills and other instrumental things, but if you don't have these abilities, you'll never be able to be independent and alone and out in your community. So I always start with those safety and community skills, particularly with the adolescent and adult community. With the littler ones, there's a few more windows that are kind of cracked. So you might look completely consumed with your iPad, but you've also had very limited, because of your age minimally, exposure to the social world. So I will do a lot of exposure activities, because if I can spark social interest, I will try to. So I might say, we're going to learn how to play with this train track. And I'm going to teach you to assemble these wooden train tracks and build the train and get it going around a track, so that then I can push other kids in and they can say, ooh, let's make it a volcano and all these sorts of things. Because if I can catch a little twinkle in your eye, I can build social motivation. So I will try to expose you to social context, not because I'm trying to force you to be like everybody else, but the reality is if you've never contacted the world of everybody else, and you have no skills to do the things everybody else is doing, and then I'm saying you're not motivated, you're also completely unaware of the social possibilities. So for littler ones, I will try to do a lot of social exposures, because I believe that if I can link in motivation, I might establish a social relationship. As you enter adolescence and adulthood, people do have the right and the ability to indicate, it is not fun or interesting for me to have chit chat with people. I don't like it, and I don't want to do it. You will have adolescents and boatloads of middle schoolers. Why do you make me talk to other people? I don't like talking to them, and it's like, I can hear them echoing in my ear, and it's sort of like, you are telling me exactly what, and I know you can do the skill. And I have seen you do it in pieces, and I'll start to say, let's talk about what's important to you, and what's going to be important socially so that you can have the other things you want in your life. Because if you isolate yourself fully socially, you aren't going to be able to get the job you want at Microsoft. That you say, I'm going to design this and that. Well, you might get it at Microsoft, but if you can't work in a collaborative think tank team, you are going to struggle. So the point is, I will try to find those pieces. That is, there are other people who will either say you should not or you should. I try to strike a middle balance as to say, know the kid, know the family, and minimally you need to have certain skills to be independent and lifelong successful. And so those, I will push, because without those, everything else self-limits you. So, and at adolescence and adulthood, you can't help, we have to. It is the world we're in. We have to be thinking about social skills for safety. So if you have very limited social skills, you can't report somebody who bullies you, you can't report somebody who's taking advantage of you, or you can't report something you observed that somebody else needs to know about so they can help you, I'm very worried for you. So I push, but I might then make it more you're gonna learn this the way that you learned your algebra. I just need you to do this. You don't have to love it. But that's more of the adult and adolescent dialogue. For the littler ones, I try to really make you love it. Because again, if you can make something unfamiliar familiar, it can become fun. So it's a hard one. And ethics and family balance and vision have to play in. So it's always a person-centered one as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. I'm sure some of us see each other again.
I walked away thinking that, this is definitely a great topic for SvedPAC, and I'll be interested to hear from all of you. Are there pieces that we want to take time as a group to go through this again, to be able to have more opportunity for discussion? So for SvedPAC to be a place where parents can have access to resources and support for their children, is a goal for us. Just going through this and having more opportunities to talk, but I would like to hear from all of you about that. I do need to get back with Mark. I did want to let you know that we are having a very successful hiring season, and I am going to be looking to have a reception for all of our new teachers, and would like to hear, are there ways this group could be part of joining and supporting that, if only in attendance. I know that when I came, there was one held for me, and many of you were there, and it was such a nice welcome that I would like to continue, as Karen said last night at the town council, the Suffield Way, to make those people feel they're coming because they have heard not only about our schools, but about our community and our parents, and the people are just so excited to be being offered jobs here to work with us, and we're getting some really high quality candidates that I think you will be very pleased with. So,
Nancy, I'd like to just ask, what are the options with Mark as far as what are some things that knowing, now this is pretty typical of the group that shows up at this meeting. So what, based on this audience, you might consider bringing to us in another SvedPAC meeting? Obviously, we'd be looking at the fall at this point, but what are our choices?
There's millions of
Yeah,
topics.
so it's really up to us.
My guidance to you would be to brainstorm things you would love to know and learn more about, because there are so many, and based on your experiences. And sometimes groups like this also say we have adolescent and adult families that are struggling with certain things, and young child families, and it's hard to resolve. But generally, topics like this you can try to weave, but I've seen teams do it a lot. It's always harder to say, I think you should learn about these things. I don't know you, I don't know your lives, I don't know your context. So I prefer you to survey yourselves. I'm always happy to contribute or give you guidance to who might be good contributors.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, this was great.
Awesome.
Nice to see everybody. Have a good rest of the day.
We'll see you then.
Yeah.